Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm a guitar teacher with DSE Music Tuition here on the Mornington Peninsula, and welcome back to part 2 of our video series on how to start improvising with the minor pentatonic scale. If you haven't seen part 1 already, go back and watch that now before you watch part 2, or if you're already watched part 1 or you're familiar with the pentatonic scale already, this is the video for you. Now before you go watch part 1 or before you watch this video here, make sure to subscribe to this channel and subscribe to DSE Music Tuition on all their social media accounts where you can find updates for future videos as well as more information on how to book a lesson with myself or any of the great teachers we have at DSE Music. So this week we are going to look at how we can expand what we can play in our minor pentatonic scale. Now in the last video we played position 1, A minor pentatonic scale. That position looked and sounded like this. And we were using those notes to improvise over the top of the backing track we had in our last video. Now when we talk about improvising, you'll remember from the last video, we were playing a series of notes which we call a lick or a passage, and we were playing a lick of maybe 3 to 6 or 7 notes, taking little breaks in between, and that's how we were improvising over the backing track. Let's have a look at that now from our last video, just to remind you what our improvisation may have looked like. So today, to expand what we can do in position 1 minor pentatonic scale, we're going to have a look at 2 things. The first is bending some of the strings and bending some of the notes in our scale. And the second thing is finishing our licks and passages on the root note in our minor pentatonic scale. Now, the first thing we're going to look at in our video today are the root notes in our position 1 minor pentatonic. Now, somewhere around my head is going to appear the diagram we used to look at our first position minor pentatonic shape. You'll notice that some of the dots or some of the notes on the frets and the strings in our diagram are a different color. There'll be 3 of them, and they'll be across a variety of different frets and strings. Those 3 notes are actually our A notes. Now, because we're playing in the A minor pentatonic, those 3 A notes are our root notes. So those 3 notes are here. So there's our 3 notes across position 1 minor pentatonic, our 3 root notes. Now what we're going to do with those is we're actually going to play our licks and our passages, but we're going to finish each lick and each passage on one of those 3 root notes. So that is going to sound something like this. Now you'll remember we play a few notes, maybe 3 to 7 notes at a time, and then finish the passage. Now we're going to finish on the root note every time, one of those 3 root notes. So what this does is it resolves each lick and passage we play. It allows us to finish each lick very musically and natural sounding, and it creates a very pleasing sound to the ear. Let's have a listen to what that might sound like over the top of our backing track, which remember you can find in the link below. Okay, so the next expansion we're going to do on our minor pentatonic scale is having a look at bending some of the notes in our scale. So a bend looks like this. So it's where we take our note or our fretted note and we actually push the string up or pull it down and bend the string, hence where it gets the name bend. Now when we bend a note, the aim is to make the note we're bending sound like the note that's 2 frets above it. Now let's take this note here. Now when we bend that note, we're aiming to make it sound like this note, which is 2 frets up. So our original note, the note we want it to sound like. So when we push the string up to bend it, we're getting it to sound like that note. So it can take a little while to get used to bending the string. So here are 2 tips I'm going to give you to make it a little bit easier. The first tip is we're going to play the note we want to bend with our ring finger, and we're actually going to put our middle finger on the same string in the fret behind it. Then we're going to use both those fingers to push up the string. That gives us twice the strength and twice the control over our bend because we're using 2 fingers to push the string instead of 1. When we bend our string, we're also going to use the top part of our 2 fingers to push these other strings out of the way. If we're bending and our fingers are getting caught underneath the strings above, then we've got to adjust. So we're trying to push those strings rather than getting caught underneath. Hope that makes sense. It can be a little confusing, these bends, but with a little practice and a little bit of time, you'll get these bends down pat in no time. So now that we've had a look at how to bend on the guitar, let's have a look at the 2 places we can bend in our A minor pentatonic shape in the first position. So we're going to go through our pentatonic shape from the top. Now we've hit the first note that we can bend on. So that's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th note in our scale, or our pentatonic shape. So we're going to bend that note to sound like that note, 2 frets up, as we mentioned before. And then we can bring that bend down. So that's the first place we can bend. The next place we can bend, we're going to go from the top of the scale again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we can bend this note and we're trying to make it sound like that note. So again, we're using 2 fingers to bend it and we're pushing the strings above it so they're out of the way. So when we're using these bends and these root notes to improvise, we can all of a sudden make some really cool sounding licks and riffs and passages to improvise over the top of our backing track. So here are a few examples of what we might be able to do. So another quick reminder, here is the link to that backing track to check out so you can practice your improvisation over that backing track. Here's what it might sound like over the top of that backing track. a quick reminder of what we've gone over today. We had a look at the 3 root notes in our position 1 minor pentatonic shape, which were here. Let's try turning up, hey? And we're aiming to finish our licks and passages on those 3 root notes. The other thing we had a look at is our bending of some of the strings in our position 1 minor pentatonic shape. Well, that's it for this video today. Thank you very much for joining me. I really hope you learned something new from this video. Please make sure to go watch part 1 as well if you're still a little confused about some of the things we talked about today. If you do have any questions about something we talked about in this video or part 1 of this video series, please drop them in the comments below and we'll try and answer them in part 3 of this video coming up soon. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel as well as following DSE Music on all their social media accounts and checking them out on their website, where you can book a lesson with myself as well as any of the other great teachers we have at DSE Music. And if you think this video would be helpful for someone you know who's learning guitar, please share this video around. That helps us out a lot. So thank you again for joining me in this video, and we will see you in the next one.